Guess this thing is on. What's up, y'all? This is, pardon that. This is I Want to Vent. Now, there's so much content out there. There's so many different, podcasts, YouTube channels you can go to for personal development. In a way, this is kind of that, but not really. So this show, if that's what you want to call it, is basically a day in the life of, I know I'm going through some things, and I know that I'm not the only one who's going through, said things. So the idea just crept in my mind of, just speaking what's on my mind, because life, given COVID, the past year and change, life's been different. I feel like there's been a great awakening. People leaving their jobs, pursuing like their passions and things of that nature. So I guess it's rude for me to just jump in that way and not introduce myself. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Rick. I go by many things. King Showtime, King Zoe Rick, Showtime Rick. That's there's so many others, but just call me Rick. That's what I go by. I'm a guy from Brooklyn. Grew up, since I want to say 5. So initially, I was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and I came to the U.S. At the ripe old age of 5. My dad brought my mom and I to the U.S. and pretty much grew up in Brooklyn. Went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and college all in Brooklyn because I kind of grew up in a sheltered environment. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade growing up in Brooklyn because I feel like it's prepared me for so many other things. I'm Haitian. Parents were strict as hell, and I actually learned how to speak English. Fun fact, I actually learned how to speak English by watching people at the deli order a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches. I just put it in my mind, oh, sandwich, oh, money, oh, and then just seeing that happen. That's kind of how I learned to pick up on that. Being an immigrant turned naturalized citizen, you kind of, had to go through the, growing pains of getting teased, for having high waters, wearing those sandals that, Haitian kids wore, especially fresh off the boat. Yeah, it was quite the experience. I'll tell you that much. Currently right now, as far as what I do, I work in financial services. Funny story about how I got that job. So let me back up on the, professional side. So basically, I was the first person in my immediate family to go to college. So I'm a first generation college graduate, and I went to, City College of New York. And initially I went for mechanical engineering. Wasn't too sure like what the hell I wanted to do. But I noticed that psychology had all the girls, and, business management, economics had all the girls. So I pursued that. But I didn't know, because again, nobody tells you this stuff, that you have to intern, you have to, get your foot in the door, increase your presence on campus. So I kind of like missed out on the opportunities to, work at JP Morgan, Goldman, all those big firms, because again, I was just kind of like going through the motions because I went to college because it's like, hey, that's what you do. Go to college, get a good job, help pay, for your parents' expenses, and, make a lot of money. Again, nobody tells you the how, right? It's just like, oh, go do it. So anywho, I found a job, like a part-time job at the time at Best Buy. Now, my first job was a mailroom assistant at City College, and then worked at Hollister for a little bit over a year. So this was back in 2012. I found the job at Best Buy in the summer of 2013 because it was summer. I'm like, okay, I need something to do. Can't just sit in the house. At the time, I was living at home with my mom, so I wasn't, on campus or anything. I was still living at home. So 2013 was quite the year because that was the year that my dad passed away. And it was just me having to do something to pay the bills. So worked my way up at Best Buy, and working at Best Buy actually taught me a lot about just people in general, like connections, relationships, how they all matter. So I don't know. I felt just that time out of like it gave me an education that I couldn't get in the classroom, and from there I just I just didn't know like directionally where I needed to go, where I wanted to go, like how was I gonna get to the next level. So left Best Buy in 2017 after talking to a customer who's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" Seemed to be a little bit more talented than just managing a team in retail. So that sparked my interest to go back to school, to grad school, this time at Brooklyn College. And this time I corrected my mistake of not networking. So I networked, joined like a business club, got sent to Orlando because I did such a good job of volunteering and all that stuff. And from there I actually made a connection, and that's the recruiter. We were just talking, this was in 2018, so we were talking about the NBA Finals. It was the Cavs Warriors, and again, it was a sweep. So we were just talking sports, and he asked me for my resume at the expo in Orlando. Gave it to him, chopped it up. I'm not thinking anything of it because at this time I'm working as a accounting assistant at the school. So when I get back, I'm not expecting a call or anything like, hey, so I get a call saying like, hey, this is so-and-so from campus recruiting. We're interested in, talking to you, finding out more about you. So please give us a call back, So I'm like, okay, I have nothing to lose. So I got a call back. They flew me up for a Super Day in Pittsburgh. So initially I was weighing the option of either moving to Pittsburgh, accepting this, potential opportunity, because again, I didn't do the interview yet, or continue grinding as an account assistant and work my way up to office business manager. So they were playing games with the whole business manager position. So ultimately did the Super Day, flew out and all that. Thought I bombed the interview. So this is just me being frank with you. Turns out I didn't, and from there so from there, 2019, June 20, so after I accept the job opportunity from 2019, after getting my master's degree in business management, I decided to, accept it and then move to Pittsburgh. So from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh is, I still have my reservations, just living here for like a little bit over 2 years now. It's been quite the experience, but that was a long-winded way of telling you I guess why I'm at this point, because I feel like the last couple of years has just been kind of like a fog of like, okay, what the hell am I meant to do, right? So I've been reading like different like articles, different books. I even went to therapy to try it out because my homegirl recommended it and I respected her opinion, and I trusted her judgment. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. What not? And then I went to it. So I felt like coming out of it, I, learned a couple different things about myself as far as, people, like just how people interact with one another, and things you can control, things you can't control, things of that nature. But at the same time, at times, it felt like I was talking to a brick wall. It's like, am I speaking a different language? Like I'm trying to communicate, like, hey, this is how I feel about X, Y, Z and all that, and it's just like, it's just like, it felt like, as far as the response I was receiving, it felt like, okay, I was speaking a different language. So that actually spurred a thought, and it got me to thinking, like, you know what? Why not create a space where, I could just speak my mind freely, no inhibitions or anything of that nature. And, I'm sure there's somebody somewhere that can relate, like, to it. So that was the long-winded intro of who I am, like the purpose of this. Not every episode is going to be like this. Granted, it's the pilot episode, so I felt the need to go in depth and give you guys the meat and potatoes. Well, some of it, and just as far as interests, like hobbies and stuff like that. So I do jiu-jitsu. Currently, on my way to get my blue belt. Been doing it for a little over 2 years. I didn't do it last year because of COVID, and I had a hamstring injury. I tore my right hamstring, so I had to rehab that, physical therapy. So that kept me out for actually 19 months. Because I stopped doing it in October 2019, and I started back June 2021. So, those are one of my hobbies. I love daily fantasy sports. So basketball is my favorite passion. Pardon me, is my favorite sport. And, I figured, what? Since I talk barbershop talk with my friends all the time about sports, so what got me to basketball was Dwayne Wade. He's, my favorite player. Then, just watching games, came to like LeBron's game, respected Kobe's game. Wasn't a Kobe fan while he, was on the Lakers, playing, but I respected his game. The battles between Kobe and D Wade, those were must-see TV. Kobe versus LeBron, must-see TV. Kobe versus Melo, and so on and so forth. So, kind of grew up on basketball in the early 2000s. I want to say early mid 2000s when D Wade got to the league. So that what got me into that. Like chess. It's been a while. I'm a little bit rusty, so you might smoke me if you play me online or whatever the case may be. What else? I like movies, TV shows. I've been slacking a little bit. I like to read, slacking on that as well. And I don't know, I'm just at a point in my life where I'm just trying to figure out what my next step is. Whether that's, diving into the content world of, me, doing this full time as a career, or, doing something else, fantasy sports, whatever it is. I'm just trying to figure out what my next step is. So that's what brought me here. So without further ado, the topic I want to, touch upon today is imposter syndrome. So I know I gave you kind of like the quick snapshot version of, my professional, journey, navigating my career. I'll like to expound upon that because I did, quickly acknowledge how the last couple of years has just been kind of like a blur, going through the motions, trying to figure it out. I'll start from, I guess, when I got my first job. So my first interview, there was the work study program, and, I'm like, what? It's just mailing, filing papers, going across campus, delivering packages. How hard can that be, right? So did the application for that. Talked to the guy, and, old white guy, a gentleman, and, kept it very professional, very, hey, this is my background, this is, what I'm, looking for the opportunity to, obviously, better myself as far as, organizing wise, things of that nature. So interview went well, got the position, and, little did I know that, I'd meet people along the way who would make an impact personality wise that way down the line, that I didn't recognize at the time. Because again, I'm in college, I'm like 19, 20, my first job. My mom didn't want me to work, so Haitian parents have this very strict things. Like the moms, they tend to be very overprotective of the son, so there was that going on. My dad passed away in 2013, so again, I was the man of the house, so man of the house and also trying to provide. So did that. Then work study program ended. Had to find out another way to give myself cell phone money, is what I like to call it, to pay the bill. So Hollister, I was applying to different places. I was applying to Gap, this is when Hollister was trendy back in the day. I did the interview at the Fifth Avenue location. Initially, I didn't apply for the one in Soho. Then I applied for the one in Fifth Avenue. On Fifth Avenue, and I didn't, what to make of it going into it. It was just like, oh, okay, I need to do this. I need some money. I need some bread. Like, let me make it happen. So did that, got it, and it was not what I thought. I was an impact team member, so I was, the people in the stock room, doing size checks, doing, folding clothes, preparing clothes and stuff like that, display, all that for, the team. That was me. So I hated it. It was my first introduction to retail. Again, people don't give you a guidebook, especially if, coming from an immigrant background. And again, this is not to demean immigrant parents, because, they tried their best with what they could, right? They tried to do the best that they could. And, I just had to learn a lot of different things through trial and error. So same thing with Best Buy when I got it, was the office assistant briefly in the athletics department, so similar process. So all of those, didn't really know what to make of them, but I never had imposter syndrome where it felt like, oh my God, I don't feel qualified. I'm not here to, I don't know, that never really happened to me at that point. So the first time I could say that I felt imposter syndrome, where it's like I'm in way over my head, was when I got promoted to sales supervisor at Best Buy. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It was just like, oh, okay. Make sure people aren't on their phones, people don't tell you how important relationships are. So I went about it the wrong way, admittedly, on my part. I went in guns blazing, and I went in with the notion of produce. I didn't really take the time to get to know the people who would be reporting to me. I didn't really, that human element, that, interaction of hey, how's your day going? Yo, good, how's everything else at home? There was none of that. And so it felt like the work environment that I created, by mistake. And I'm laughing, but it's not funny. I'm laughing because looking back, it's just oh shit, I really could have went about this a different way. That was the first time I felt imposter syndrome, because I just didn't know what I was doing. Bossing people around. I could just do that, and didn't work out at all. But I learned a valuable lesson of relationships matter a lot. That's a lesson I'd never forget. It took, I guess, going through that fire of failing at leadership in the beginning to understand what kind of leader I am. I always considered myself going back to my days in school and high school, where I was very competitive, but I also saw myself as a leader. I got to get shit done. I'm the one who would organize meetings, or even make sure that the team is on point. That would always be me. But somehow in the real world, when I got to the workplace, it just didn't translate, because I had this mental block where I couldn't fathom certain things, because I was just going through the motions. So quit Best Buy. So again, that was my first taste of that. Quit Best Buy because I'm okay, like I mentioned earlier, where the customer was hey, you seem to, be very talented, and you seem to have a lot of potential. There's probably other avenues you could pursue. So got me to thinking, and there was this chick who I was talking to at the time. She was like, yo, you're not pushing yourself. You're capable of more. And that stuck with me, because it's you're right. I don't know why I'm second guessing myself. I don't know, I don't know what's happening, but you're right. I'm way better than this. I'm better than I'm showing. So let me go out and show that. So that happened. Decided to go back to, grad school, and, like I said, through networking. So, volunteering for Meals on Wheels, community involvement, all that. It positioned me to get the opportunity to get, a corporate job. So when I finally got the corporate job, didn't know what the hell I was doing. I got, so when I did the Super Day and did the interview in Pittsburgh, the guy, who interviewed me, he had like a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and he worked in financial services for 15 years up until that point. He's no longer with the firm that I'm at, so he's like the head of fraud at another major firm, and he's just killing it. So I think in my case, what kind of like led to the imposter syndrome is because I wasn't focused on my journey. I was focused on like, oh, Shorty over here got her PhD in statistics. Shorty over here, got a master's in chemistry. What are you doing in financial services? I don't know, but you smart as hell, right? So getting caught up in like, yo, I don't feel like I belong. I can't compete. Like I can't hang with these people. Like I think dented my confidence in the beginning, in some ways, because I just started questioning myself. I had self-doubt, like, yo, I don't know if I could do this shit. Like the program I was in was quantitative analytics, and going in, I didn't know what the hell that was from a financial services perspective. It was just like, yo, figure this out. Like, it's a challenge, and you like challenges, so this will be the next challenge. Little did I know that it was gonna be, 2 years, like 18 months was the program. So it was just gonna be like me waking up every day like, yo, I got this project over my head. Like, yo, I don't feel confident. My brain doesn't want to work. It's like my brain doesn't work anymore. Like, yo, how am I gonna figure this out? So it was a lot of that going on, and what helped me was just consistently talking to my friends back home in Brooklyn and just talking to people. What I realized is that a lot of it was just in my head. Like I was just, projecting. It's just like, oh, they got X, Y, Z. The whole time, I don't know, like, what their situation. And one day this, one of the chicks I was talking to told me, like, hey, I actually look up to you. And that took me by surprise, because in my mind, it's like, yo, I don't even feel like my best self right now. You telling me you looking up to me? Like, what the hell is going on? So that got me to thinking, like, you know what? Even though I don't know what my niche is, what I'm meant to do, like, because that's something that's always on my mind. Like, yo, what is my purpose in life? Kind of thing. Like, even when I'm having a good time, like, that's still like in the backdrop of my big ass head of like, yo, what's the next step? Like, cause I'm always like a forward motion kind of person. So, just all of that, and just doing a lot of deep self-reflection, and I guess therapy to an extent, really help open my eyes of, what's meant to happen will happen. And you do belong, right? You got to where you got for a reason, whether it's nepotism, whatever the case may be. Everybody's situation is different, but I'm a firm believer in the position you're in, like with the role you're playing currently, like you're playing that role for a very particular reason. So with that being said, I know I'm not the only person, who deals with this, who have dealt with this, the imposter syndrome. And if you let it, your biggest enemy, and I know it's very cliche, I hate cliches, is yourself. Because sometimes you get in the way of you, right? It's just like, oh, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next. And then doing like that thought experiment all the time, it drives you insane sometimes, and you can burn yourself out. So just, for whoever's out there, whoever, watched this video, you're not alone. Things will come to pass. Put it that way. That's the easiest way I can put it. And that's not to minimize like your situation or, how you're feeling about, like, oh, just know you belong. Like, you got to where you got, whether it's, entertainment, whether you're a content creator, or whether you work in corporate America, or whether you're just trying to get by, right? And you just like watching, things go by you, or you feel like you've just taken on something that you're just not qualified to do. You belong. Like, you will figure it out. Humans are complicated beings, and, don't, like, a certain amount of stress is good, but don't stress yourself out over it, because things that are meant to work themselves out will and things that aren't supposed to work out won't. So I like to keep things simple, man. As simple as I can put it. And just moving forward, I know this was a lot of me rambling, but I'm very curious to hear feedback, what you guys think. It's an interactive thing. I like to keep it as interactive as possible, whether it's I have to do a live chat, take questions from you guys. Again, I'm not a life coach. I know you guys are gonna be like, oh, what are your qualifications? Da, 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 da. Like, it's none of that. It's just, I feel like, creating this for open dialogue and, just see where it goes. I'm the last, year, I want to say I've been more open to hearing people's perspectives on things that I think should be common sense, right? If you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Like, yo, bozo, I don't agree with you, da 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 da, whatever the case may be, right? Just, just tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, which I assume most of you will be, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, so when I go live or when I post these videos, you guys will be aware. So that being said, that was episode 1. I felt like giving you guys a little bit of my background may help, it may not, who knows. But with that being said, see you guys next time. Thank you.